since she was in middle school.
A middle school intervention is not sufficient in itself.
Through the hard times and the good. The education of Omarion begins right now. This is the story of 6 years in a life. And an attempt to stem the dropout crisis in America. When we first met Omarion Cabrera, she was a middle school student in the Bronx. And she had been struggling.
6th grade was a hard year because me and my mom got evicted. I felt shattered. That was a home that I had for my whole life. I didn't know what was going to happen next, and that period of not knowing wasn't something that I felt comfortable with. I felt this inkling in me that I would never want my children or anyone else experience this.
Shuffled between relatives' apartments, some without even electricity, Omarion suffered another loss.
When I was really young, my father walked out for whatever reason. I finally got in touch with him. Just before we were about to talk and I was about to go see him, he had gotten a stroke. I was seeing my father for the first time and it was in a casket.
With her home life in chaos, Omarion's school life began to suffer. She was showing up late, or not at all, starting down a path that so many other young people take. Every year, hundreds of thousands of students fail to finish high school.
Even kids in the most dire circumstances really want a future. They just need to have a path to it.
Robert Balfans, one of the nation's top education researchers, had been searching for that path for 15 years by studying kids who were dropping out of high school. Then he realized that the key moment when kids begin to go down the wrong path was actually in middle school.
If in the middle grades you develop habits of not coming to school regularly, of getting in trouble, or failing your courses, you bring that with you to high school.
What he discovered was that if a 6th grade child in a high-poverty school is absent more than 20% of the time, or fails math or English, or receives an unsatisfactory behavior grade in a core course, there is a 75% chance that they will drop out of high school, unless there is decisive intervention.
It may seem far less than rocket science, but it's something that in fact schools by and large have not paid attention to.
Implemented a program based on Balfans's research, designed to catch faltering students like her. Every week, statistics were collected and reviewed by a team of counselors and teachers, including the principal, Dolores Peterson.
Let's go to 802. Omarion. How is Omarion doing?
They would flag the students most in need.
Her mother's not even in the United States right now. They were in a shelter not that long ago. Then they were evicted. I took her home one day, and it's on the other side of the world, you can say.
I can't tell you how much I worry every time she leaves this building.
When she leaves this building, you know, she's on her own.
In cases like Omarion's, they'd organize an intervention. Catherine Miller was Omarion's homeroom teacher.
So once Omarion was identified, it was imperative on my part as a homeroom teacher, in consultation with the guidance counselor, to discuss why she was coming in late so many times.
They came to me and they asked me, "What's wrong? You've been late a lot. Something has to be wrong." And that's when I told Ms. Miller that I was evicted.
Your mother
Tragically represents the other side of the story.
She has a twin
If we don't
brother.
solve the problem or change the behavior that's leading a 6th grader to miss a month of school or fail math and English, it doesn't self-correct. In fact, we clearly see it gets worse.
This is her twin brother they were talking about.
That Omarion was accepted to George Washington. O'Marlin was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison.
One of the people who were testifying against him, in their report, they said that Omarion had told them, like, "I'm sorry that I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my daughter." He doesn't get to see a big portion of her early years, and his daughter's growing up pretty fast. Just really, really messes with me, like knowing that I'm moving on to a good part of my life and I'm graduating high school, rest of our lives. This is no longer, school. This is his life.
With intervention, she went to a private high school where she stayed. I think that it was like a private elite school.
However, I believe I'll be the first one. And they'll be excited and thrilled, and they'll be proud of what I've become.
To be that full of profound perspective and wisdom at this stage in her life leaves me believing that there are no limits to what she might do for and share with the world.